Dominik, I think he needs to get some. He needs to really beat the crap out of somebody. I think he needs Uncle Chavo.
What's going to happen in that match?
He needs
You've got the book.
Look, I think he needs Uncle Chavo to come in and show him how to really be a Guerrero.
What about Hector Guerrero, Lasertron? What is he up to these days?
Hector is still living in Florida, and he's just getting done with teaching. He's getting ready to retire here in the next year, I believe, and he's going to just hang out. But Hector's doing great.
Do you currently follow the wrestling products, WWE, AEW?
Not too much, not too close. What happens now, because of being behind the camera in Hollywood, doing all the wrestling kind of really in TV shows and movies, my wrestling Rain Man really kicks in, and not only do I watch what the wrestlers are doing right and doing wrong, but I'm looking at the camera, how they're filming that. Why they film it like that? They should have filmed this. This should have been done here. That movement should have been there. It's very hard for me to. I got all these equations going on in my head, but I every once in a while I watch somebody and they get me. If I see like a Randy Orton versus Dolph Ziggler or somebody that those two can just kill it, or like I always.
What about Rey Mysterio?
I love
Still
Ray.
At it. He's still at it.
Ray's still at it. Ray's still at it. Ray's still Ray, and he's doing really good. And man, my hat's off to him, man. He's like, he's getting up there in age and with a lot of injuries, and he's still performing at a real high level.
Now they, of course, the situation going on with he and his son Dominik. Dominik's like one of the top heels of all time in WWE in recent time, and he keeps talking about he should have been Eddie's son, or maybe he was Eddie's son. You hear that, you see that.
I think he probably has some Guerrero in him.
Do you?
You know what, man? Hey, I just got along with it, but really, I'll tell you this: they brought Eddie up in the past. Did some couple different things with Randy Orton, a couple different other things, and I kind of thought it was kind of distasteful. It really wasn't. It didn't really help anybody's angle. It just was kind of. This one makes sense because you have, Dominik. He's questioning, am I really your son? The whole "I'm your poppy" thing from 2004, whatever it was. Really, really, because this one really makes sense. And I'm not a booker there. This is all WWE stuff, but I think they should have saved it until now. And I think this angle would have been even bigger.
Why do you think they should have saved it till now?
Yeah, because how many times are you going to use it? How many times are you going to bring up a guy who passed away? And they're not doing it with Owen Hart, and they keep doing stuff like that with Owen Hart or different stuff. So how many times are you going to keep doing it? So I think they should have been very, very selective in that. And of course, my opinion, this one makes sense. This one's like, hey, awesome. It makes sense. And then you have Rhea coming out with "I'm Your Mommy." I go, that's gold. It's gold.
Yeah. Where do you think the Rey Dominik Mummy? Where do you think that whole? If you're the booker, let's say, what would you do with this? It's going to be Rey versus Dominik at Backlash. What are you going to do with it?
If I was the booker.
Yes.
My booking now. If I'm the booker, I can do whatever I want. Because Dominik's getting kind of beat up by a guy who's not even a wrestler, who's a recording artist.
Bad Bunny, yeah.
And he's doing well. Don't get me wrong. Bad Bunny's doing really well.
He's very good.
But really, he's not going to be join the NFL and playing, starting running back. He's not going to be joining the NBA and dunking on people. He's not going to go in the UFC choking people out. But he's coming in wrestling and he's beating wrestlers. To me,
that used to be taboo.
There's a right place and a wrong place. Like I always love Andy Kaufman. He did it right. He didn't beat anybody except for women.
Hold on.
Wow. Yes, right. How much heat did he get? It was amazing.
Oh,
and then when Lawler came in and dropped him, who really was a wrestler, and dropped him and then he got carted out. That's gold.
I put those two guys. I put those two guys together. I don't know if you know that.
Did you? I
Yeah,
tell you
I'm the
what,
guy who introduced them to each other. Yeah.
that was
Yeah,
that that's
actually,
that's the way to do it.
my
Yeah.
book is
Yeah.
Wrestling Fixed. I didn't know it was broken. There's Andy and I.
Kind of comedy, Tom, definitely putting yourself over, brother.
Well, got to, because I always did that. But go on with the Ray story.
But you know, to me, I'd say, hey, Dominic, I think he needs to get some. He needs to really beat the crap out of somebody. I think he needs Uncle Chavo.
What's going to happen in that match?
You've got the book. Look, I think he needs Uncle Chavo to come in and show him how to really be a Guerrero.
That would be interesting. But you've got the book, let's say. So this match at Backlash, how would you? And if you're watching this afterwards, it was a hell of a match. But what would you do to make the storyline go further?
Okay, well, I would have, and who is Ray versus Dominic?
Dominic, yes, yeah.
So Ray beat him at WrestleMania and spanked him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Dominic's got to get some heat back. He's got to beat his dad up really good at the end. I mean, and break his knee like I did or something. He's got to really, really, really get heat back because Ray already beat him. If Ray beats him again, now I'm not saying you can't go anywhere else with it, but to me, you're stealing some of that heat. God, you know, the heat that Dominic's got is pretty good. And now he can't just be a guy that you hate. He's got to be able to turn it up and really be a killer as well. Once you do that, now it's like, ooh, I don't just boo this guy. I really despise this guy because he's you don't know what he's going to do next.
Yeah.
Look at guys like a Brian Pillman. He was very unpredictable, and he was a tough guy. Now, there's sometimes he did get beat, but for the most part, he would beat the crap out of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it didn't matter if he got beat. He beat
you're building him. Now, I'm not the booker there. They have stuff. You know, Vince McMahon is much more knowledgeable than I ever will be in pro wrestling, but. You know, I think I'm pretty close to this angle, so I could probably help out with it.
You teased Chavo Guerrero coming into this angle. Would you like to look out in case Triple H or Mr. McMahon is watching this? And go ahead.
You know, that's a tough one because, man, just with stuff that I'm doing in Hollywood and LA, I can't commit for a long period of time. I have too much stuff going on. That's what happened with me in AEW. I started AEW. Young Rock called. I had to leave AEW, and that's the way it goes. And Tony was very cool about it. Like, hey, man, no problem. We'll do something again. Right. It is what it is. That's why I come on a really quick contracts. I can't sign for a long period of time.
Because you're busy. So tell people what you're doing out in California, and where people can find you. Well, they know where to find you on Twitter. But where?
You know, Matt, I'm really just doing. This is what happened. I started dabbling and doing some wrestling coordination, and for years, Gene LaBelle, if you know Gene LaBelle, Judo Gene LaBelle, he was the stuntman, the wrestling guy in Hollywood. 4 years, wrestling went through him. Because I knew Gene since I was 5 years old. Once I started getting into that business, he started passing things on to me and saying, hey,
really,
I'm too old. I want Chavo to do it. I want Chavo to, and really kind of pass the torch to me a little bit.
By the way, for you fans who don't know who Gene LaBelle is, look that up. But when I was growing up at the Olympic Auditorium, he was one of the broadcasters and he was a wrestler. Go ahead, Chavo. I'm sorry.
He was more than that. He was the first MMA person.
Right.
He's the first person to beat a first judo guy to beat a boxer. And and it was he's has been Karate Magazine's number one dangerous man in the world.
And he was in a million movies as a
he choked out Steven Seagal on set.
I remember.
We all know that story. Gene LaBelle was the man, and nobody messed with Gene. In fact, he was when he was commentator, he would play just role. You remember, he was the role. He was just a commentator role. But really, he was Eileen Eaton's son, who was the main promoter of all the
Olympic. Yeah.
He would sit, Gene LaBelle, anytime a pro boxer, one of the best in the world, or a pro wrestler, and back then the pro wrestlers were killers. Anytime they had a discrepancy on pay and they would have to go talk to Eileen in her office, Gene LaBelle would sit in the back. And there wasn't one person who got out of line because they all knew, I don't care how tough you were, Gene was still tougher than every one of them.
I remember. So
You know
we're running out of time a bit. So tell everybody what you're doing actually now.
So now I'm just doing all the choreography on TV shows and movies that have pro wrestling in there. So this week I'm working on a show called Loot that's on Apple TV with Maya Rudolph show. That's for this week. But I just finished the movie Iron Claw. That's about it's an A24 movie, and A24 swept the Oscars this year. It's a movie about the Von Erichs, and
I interviewed Kevin about it.
Their tragedies. So starring Zac Efron, starring Jeremy Allen White, Harris Dickinson. It's going to be, man, I got to tell you this, man. It's our director, writer, Sean Durkin. They really did well, and I think we're going to be in the Oscar talk.
Will you come back for another visit once that happens?
Absolutely. I love you, I love you, brother, man. Absolutely.
Likewise. Now I do.
We've been close for a really long time. And
Guerreros, where can people find you on social media?
Come check me out on Twitter at Mex Warrior, but on Instagram, pretty much do everything. Instagram is Chavo Guerrero Jr.